Hello, this is the third video, and already you can see things are looking different. There's a new background, there's a new watch, there's some better lighting, and I've even made notes because I'm pretty clear I want to keep this under 10 minutes because I still haven't figured out how to edit and manage large video files. So, what I want to talk about this today is specifically about people who want to start writing and who are stuck. How do I start? What do I write about? What do I do with all the fears and anxieties and insecurities that immediately seem to be waiting for you to start before they descend upon you, right? So I encourage people to write, but I also understand that writing is not for everyone. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But the people I do like to encourage are those who have a flair for the language, who have a flair for writing, and for whatever reason they are stuck, or they just simply don't know how to even start, even though they know that once they start they could possibly keep going with it. Um, now what to write about, whether people, not everybody has enough interesting things to say or write about, and that's for another video on how do you get ideas, what do you write about, to even know that if you want to write. Okay, so that's another thing, but this is for those who want to start but don't know how to start, and who are, and hopefully some of these things that I share will be helpful to you. So primarily there are three things. There's an approach, and I would like to um, suggest one approach that you have in mind as you pick up pen and put it to paper or open your laptop to start writing. One is the approach, one is the expectation that you should have and you can have when you take up this task. What is a reasonable expectation? Something that pushes you, that motivates you, and just keeps you on the edge without overwhelming you, but at the same time doesn't let you get off very easy. And finally, the method. How do you put this into practice? So, three things. And have I missed something here? Okay, the first one is the approach, right? And I think one of the biggest stumbling blocks for people is the quest for perfection. They have read so many books, they have seen great writing, they have examples of what good writing should be like, and they know they are not there yet, that they cannot produce that yet, right? So there is a sense of perfection that has been set before us, the benchmark, and the approach is that how do I even meet that? How do I even come close to that? So my suggestion is to start with a sense of wonder and treat it as an experiment, not treat it as something to that you're writing that is supposed to be great, that is supposed to be phenomenal, that is supposed to change people's lives or give something value to others. All that comes later. Those are important things to do as well. But when you start, I think if you just come at it as an experiment, saying, hey, I haven't written much before, but here is a topic that interests me or I want to write something about. And as I've explained in my previous videos, a large part of writing is as you start writing, you uncover newer thoughts, right? And the first step is to get rid of some of those old thoughts that keep cooking again and again, and then to go deeper and say what else is there in your head. So the approach is to say, I'm doing an experiment and seeing if I write this way, what happens? Just what happens when I write, like in as if it was a piece of humor, if it was something more serious and academic. Come at it as if you are trying different experiments, and with an experiment it just gives you an output, just gives you a result which you can objectively evaluate, say, this seemed interesting, this seems not so interesting, this was exciting to write, this was not so exciting to write. The second thing is expectation, which is very close to what we've just spoken about, right? How do you meet the benchmarks that you have set for yourself or that you have come across? I want to read a passage from this book called The Getaway Car by this amazing writer called Anne Patchett. And I'm switching tabs and I'm just going to read this passage from you. And the example she gives is brilliant when we are speaking about the expectations we set for ourselves, right? So Anne Patchett says this book I have not yet written one word of is a thing of undescribable beauty, unpredictable in its patterns, piercing in its color, so wild and loyal in its nature that my love for this book and my faith in it as I track its lazy flight is a single perfect joy in my life. Right? So the book in your imagination, and she says book, but it could just be an essay, it could just be a poem, it could just be some recollections of something that has happened to you last week, last year, whenever, and you just want to capture it, right? So treat the word book loosely. But she says this book I have not written one word of is a thing of undescribable beauty, um, so wild and loyal in its nature that my love for this book and my faith in it as I track its lazy flight is a single perfect joy in my life. She compares it to a butterfly flying in the air. It's beautiful. And that happens to all of us when we conceive of the piece, when we imagine the piece in our head. It is absolutely brilliant, and I love this phase of the process because in my head it is so perfect, it is so pristine, right? Then, when I can't think of another stall, when putting off the act of writing it, when putting it off has actually become more painful than doing it, I reach up and pluck the butterfly from the air. Here's where it gets all goosebumpy. I take it from the region of my head and I press it down against my desk, and there, with my own hand, I kill it. It's not that I want to kill it, but it's the only way I can get something that is so three dimensional onto that flat page. Just to make sure the job is done, I stick it into place with a pin. Imagine running over the butterfly with an SUV. Everything that was beautiful about this living thing, all the color, the light and movement is gone. What I'm left with is the dry husk of my friend, the broken body chipped, dismantled and poorly reassembled, dead. That's my book. Well, it doesn't sound pretty encouraging, and you might be wondering how is this a great expectation to have, but that is the reality. Do not expect to bring into paper, that which is in your head. It will never translate, it will never ever translate the way it is in your head perfectly onto paper, right? So once you're freed of, and you can only get the best you can, the what little you can pluck from the air, of what little of the beautiful butterfly you can save, that is the best that you can get onto paper. So have that expectation that this is, I will not get everything, I will only get 80%, 50% if I'm lucky. A lot of people have this, and I've come across this myself, right? Hey, give yourself permission to write badly. All you will do is set your expectations low. I will write one bad sentence a day. I will write a shitty draft. The first drafts are shitty. And here's my submission, okay? And I've taken a lot of solace and comfort and encouragement from these things, but I think it perhaps warrants a rethink. Writing shitty drafts will come easy. Writing crappy sentences is effortless. You don't even have to try. You can just do it, right? Writing poorly, write one bad sentence a day, easily we can do that. But I would suggest that you don't have that as your expectation. What if you reframed it and said, I will write the best sentence I can today, here, as I am now, tired at the end of the day after a day of work, or write first thing in the morning, sleepy, groggy, no matter where I am, how I am, in what state of mind I am. This person here, me now, will write the one best sentence that I can. And it can change. Tomorrow will be up or down, the next day will be up or down. But you come to the desk with an intention of writing the best sentence you can, as you can that day, right? So that kind of an expectation will also help. And the third thing is a method. How do you even, what is a practical tip to start with? So here's an interesting thing I've observed or I've thought about. There are a lot of craft books, there are a lot of technique books, and I have read a lot of them, and I've gained and I've learned so much from them. But I also think, what craft book did Jane Austen read? What did Thomas Hardy read? Any of the other, Henry Fielding, right? Tom Jones. What great classics what great self writing books did they read? Books on craft, books on technique. They probably didn't, because I don't think those books existed at that time. If they have, I haven't come across any yet. Jane Austen read books that were published at that time, right? All your Thomas Hardy's and I'm not even going as far back as Shakespeare, but all your writers in the 18th century, 19th century, they read books that were in circulation that time, that got published. So their inspiration were they were in classics at that time. Their inspiration were the books that were published then, and they learned from that. And my advice and my suggestion is, and this has become even more strong in my head once I've gotten into the classics, is to read the classics. There's a reason, and I know everybody says this, it's very hard to read, it's very difficult. Of course it is hard, it is difficult, but your learning comes from that. There is a place to learn craft, technique, how to structure a scene, how to plan the beats in a story, how to structure it, where does a midpoint come, what is an inciting event. There is a time and place for that. How do you create an unforgettable character, what kind of flaws do you give the character, what is a character arc. You go down that rabbit hole, there will be a time and place for that, and you do it, but not when you start, because that's when you absolutely get stuck in the quicksand and you're doomed. You're never getting out again, and the battle log is going to come and eat you. That's it. My suggestion is to read the classics, just get a flavor of how else how writing is, how else it can be written, how a certain sentiment can be expressed. Wuthering Heights is one of my favorite novels. It is absolutely dark. I cannot. It is just so dark, but it's so beautifully written, so brilliantly written, and I don't know what craft books will teach you to write that. That comes from within. That comes from learning. That comes from experience. That comes from trying it again and again. John McLaughlin, the famous jazz guitarist, guitar god, has this album called Thieves and Poets. And he said, in some way, we are all thieves and poets, and we all are. We are thieves because we steal ideas, we learn from the masters, we apprentice from them, and then we do take something from them, and we bring it into our own practice. And we are poets because we imbue that what we have stolen with our own nature, with our own ideas, with our own thoughts. So we are all thieves and poets. So read the classics, understand how books are written, and that itself will teach you, as you keep reading, you will understand a certain flair for it. You will develop a certain rationale as to why certain things have to happen at a certain place, and then it gets translated into theory when you dissect it and analyze it. But that's not your point. Get familiar with great literature, and that's the method. Is there any other point I wanted to add today? Yeah, on the same thing, I just wanted to talk about when I started playing tennis many years ago. I wasn't trained. I didn't go for any coaching class. I didn't go for any training. I just picked up a racket and a can of tennis balls and went to the court and said, okay, me and my friend, we started playing. Now, I have seen a lot of videos. I know what a good serve should look like. I know what a forehand should look like. I know what a backhand should look like, right? So we used to take videos of us playing, and we used to go back and play those videos again and just see how far away this looked visually from what it's supposed to look like, right? Because when you're playing it, you don't know, but when you watch the videos, you know. And by watching videos again and again and again, you realize that, oh, okay, it is supposed to look like this, but it's looking like this. My racket goes flat when it should be vertical blade faced, and it should go like this for the serve, but I'm just doing a waiter serve, things like that. Just by observation, you learn a lot. And that is what I mean by going back to the classics. Just observe how they write. Similarly with a guitar or any music instrument that you learn, right? I knew how Hotel California sounded. I knew what the solo sounded like. And when I played it, when I looked at the tabs and when I looked at the notation and started to play it, yeah, I could get the notes, I could get the details, which fret, which string, but the sheer sound of it, the flavor, the flair of it, I could get only because I knew it in my ear, in my head, and I tried to imitate it. And that's the example, that's the point I'm trying to make with going back to the classics and reading extensively. Yeah, that's about it. And I'm sure 15 minutes, even with notes. Okay, I'll end here and I'll see you soon for another video. Ciao.